Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Quest. Our goal is to take you inside the minds of the world's most effective thinkers so you can learn with ease what they have learned, oftentimes with great difficulty. And if you pay attention, I promise you, our guests will give you the behaviors and thought patterns that you guys are going to need to be successful in anything you're trying to accomplish in your life. All right, today's guest is without question one of the most legendary sports icons of the 20th century. Fighting since the age of 14, this storied master of the sweet science had already racked up a staggering 155 fights before he even went pro. An amazing string of successes that culminated in 3 National Golden Gloves titles, 2 AAU championships, the Pan American Games crown, and a very memorable gold medal at the 1976 Olympic Games. But what he did as an amateur pales in comparison to his subsequent 20-year reign as one of the most dominant professional boxers. His feats in the ring captured the imagination of an entire generation as he defeated a litany of the finest boxers of the modern era in some of the most celebrated fights in the history of the sport. He's a 6-time champion who was the first boxer ever to win a championship title in 5 different weight classes. 5! All while becoming one of the biggest crossover successes the world of boxing has ever known. It's absolutely insane. By the time he retired, he was the first fighter to earn more than $100 million in prize money, and his accomplishments in the ring firmly established his position in the pantheon of all-time greats. And now, is he sitting around, counting his money, chilling at the beach? No, he's adding a beautiful new dimension to his already stellar legacy as the unofficial ambassador for the sport of boxing and a wildly active philanthropist focused on fighting diabetes and obesity. With his wife Bernadette, he's created a foundation to amplify his efforts in that fight, using his celebrity in a super unique way to very powerful effect. He has done everything imaginable to help drive awareness and raise the much-needed money to fund research, and he's gone all the way to testifying at a Senate committee hearing on the topics. Absolutely incredible that he would put that kind of effort into something. And to top it all off, he's also penned a raw and powerful autobiography titled The Big Fight, My Life in and Out of the Ring. If you read it, it will leave you awed and inspired by his vulnerability and champion mindset. It's crazy. This is one of those must-read books that as you're going through it, you realize that somebody stripped away all the BS and they are giving themselves to you as they actually are. It is astonishing. For somebody who's accomplished that much to be that open, it's powerful, and I cannot recommend it enough. All right, please help me in welcoming one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time, the legend, the icon, the champ, Sugar Ray Leonard. Really an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Yes, definitely. And going through and researching everything, I came across a quote that stopped me in my tracks. It was so powerful because looking at what you've accomplished, the temptation is to think of you just as, oh, he was an extraordinary guy, he was born with gifts, and relegate myself to a box where I can't achieve what you've achieved and deny you the hard work that you've actually done. And the quote that you said was, nobody's born a champion just like nobody's born a brain surgeon. What did you have to do to become champ?
Well, to accept the fact that we were willing to get hit is one thing.
In the face.
In the face. Because you don't play boxing. Boxing is a poor man's sport. And number 2 Boys Club, Washington, D.C., and I was boxing this kid. And this kid, boom, hit me in the nose. And I said, oh, that's good. I'm good. That's it. And I retired. So I have a history of being retired.
Right.
But I came back when I was 14, more old enough to understand the concept here. And from that point on, I found boxing. Boxing found me, or we found each other. Because I'm so opposite of what I used to be, or what I did. I am quiet, shy, almost introverted. But to be involved with the sport that demands your respect, and it's about bravado and what have you, boxing to me was a sense of being calm, being safe, because I felt safe in the ring more so than I felt safer outside the ring. It's a kind of a weird thing.
Why is that? Is that because you grew up in a rough neighborhood, or was it the control?
Well, the neighborhood in Washington D.C. Was it safe? Depends on where you stay, where you're located, where your home is. But I didn't feel threatened or anything, because to me, everyone lived the same way. But boxing just kind of took me from under the rocks because, again, I was so quiet and so reserved and so shy that it kind of brought me to the real world.
Yeah, what? So you get punched in the nose, you retire, which is very understandable. I'm still retired after my punch in the nose, by the way, so it stuck with me.
Right.
Hearing the stories, knowing that you used to run to school instead of taking the bus, a nice 3-mile jaunt, because you had become what you call tunnel vision, which I love, right. That like hyper focus, nothing else in my life matters. But I want to know, it doesn't happen by accident. How do you go from being the 9-year-old who gets punched in the face, retires, to being the 14-year-old who decides, okay, I'm going to make this happen? And it was when you were 15, right? You lie about your age and try to compete in the Olympics.
Yeah, I was trying to qualify for the 72 Olympics, and I lost in the quarterfinals. So I remember vividly crying because I lost to, I don't want to remember his name, but his name is Jerome Artis. He beat me, the kid from Philadelphia. He was talking so much trash to me, and I was trying to beat this guy, you know. And the punches were like this. and then someone said, "Ray, you almost made the Olympics." And it hit me that I was almost that far from being on the team. So I remember being in the dressing room, and I was crying. I was devastated. And all of a sudden, this guy walks up to me. His name was Sergeant Thomas Johnson, who was the assistant coach of the 1976 Olympic team. He called me Sugar, and he said, "Sugar man, you'll be more prepared for the next Olympics. You'll be more experienced." Those were the best words I could have heard. The best advice. It was something that really raised my spirits. I said, yes. So I'm going to dedicate myself for the next 4 years, and I did that. And that's where the running to school behind the bus comes into play, because although I wasn't as fast or strong as the other guys, I was more dedicated, more disciplined. So I ran to school. I would run like 4 miles a day and 5 miles a day, and get home from school, go right to the gym. I mean, I was so focused. And like the television is like this. I was such a student of boxing, of the sweet science.
I find that people break down into two different groups when it comes to what they want to hear when they've failed or when they're down, what I call being knocked to your knees. Did he really approach you right then? You've just lost, the tears are still drying on your cheeks, and that's when he walks up?
Yes. I was wailing. I mean, I was so hurt, but I was upset with myself because boxing is somewhat, and mano is individual sport, but it's also teamwork too. But I felt that I could have done better, so I was more upset about myself, about my performance. And his advice was like a shot of adrenaline. It raised my spirit.
What I find so compelling about that is, so you have another story where your first professional loss, and you were like, everyone in my entourage, my family, everybody, they're trying to tell me nice things, you know, I'm the best, I'm the champ, I'll come back. And you're like, you're actually annoying me, get out of here. Yeah. So it's really interesting and I think profoundly useful for all of you guys to synthesize what he's saying, right? So the moment where people are trying to puff you up after a loss, that doesn't feel good, and it grates. But the guy who tells you how to come back, the guy who paints the picture for you'll be more experienced, right? It's active. It's something that you're going to go and do. Has that been a theme in your life? Do you seek out that, like, how do I actively construct a path back?
You know, for me, talking about when I lost my first professional fight, which was so devastating, emotionally devastating, because, like, as you stated, my entourage, my friends, my family, they would all say, "Ray, you know, that fight was close. It could have went either way." And they was trying to help me, calm me down. They was trying, because I was hurt. Although I wasn't crying, at that moment, I was hurting inside because it was a fight that I felt that I should have won. I could have won if I had a different game plan. But to help you understand why I went the route that I did was because Roberto Duran was one of the most intimidating fighters ever prior to Mike Tyson. And he cursed me out. He cursed my wife out. And I don't speak Spanish, but I knew what he was talking about. And he pushed me, he shot me, he did all those things. He was like a bully. He was a bully. And I was always taught that if there's a camera, you smile, you know? So he challenged my manhood. He took my manhood. And I said, you know what? I'm going to beat this guy at his own game. And I went to that ring, and I was fighting him toe-to-toe, which I should not have done. I mean, no one likes to lose. No one. But what makes you a winner is coming back, is getting up from knockdowns. And I lived with that for a few months. And I said, you know what, I can beat this guy. So I came back to show Roberto Duran that I can come back. So it was good for me.
Yeah, I would say for anybody that doesn't know the story, it's probably it's one of the most electrifying and famous number 2 fights ever.
It was bizarre because it was Roberto Duran. In fact, Usher is playing me in a movie coming out pretty soon. And it was no mas. You know, he said no mas, which means no more. It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment in my life.
Yeah, for any of you guys that like bullying just makes you want to chew through glass. So, like you were saying, Duran is bullying him all leading up to the fight. He has like a boxing glove on in the first one, right?
Yeah,
during the weigh-ins or whatever. And he keeps like punching him and just messing with him. And so ends up getting under your skin. You go toe-to-toe. You lose the fight. You come back the next time with the attitude that to win against a bully, you have to embarrass them. Go watch that fight. It's got to be one of the most referenced fights ever, where he's doing the juke moves with his feet and then punches at an awkward angle, or swings this arm and punches with that. Like in a real boxing match. I was like, this is like watching a cartoon. I couldn't believe it. And he so gets inside that guy's head and so messes with him. Imagine. The biggest stage ever, the sweet science, there's no bigger stage. Duran is one of the biggest fighters in the world. He just beat him 5 months earlier. And in the middle of a round, he just stops and goes, no mas, right? It becomes the most famous line in boxing. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But it was done in the mind.
Without question.
And you've said that psychological warfare, you love to beat people before the fight. Talk about that.
Well, I tend to choreograph the fight because in my head, I was good at breaking you down. You say, for example, you and I was fighting, Tom, and I say, hey,
let's not say that, buddy.
I said, how you doing? So what I'm really doing is checking your muscles. It's a little.
I'm flexing now.
Yeah, you're flexing, yeah. But I did all those things, and I would study tapes of you. Watch your pet peeves. I would understand what makes you tick, what makes you upset, and I would play on those things. I would see whether or not you throw your jab quick or you drop your hands. All those things were just, for me, ways of breaking you down, fundamentally, break you down. But more so here, because if I make you miss enough, and then I make you pay for those misses, then you doubt yourself. Because that's why they call it the sweet science of boxing.
Right. Yeah, I love you. You have another quote which is really powerful, which is, I observe people more than they observe me. And I thought that's really smart. And so I consider myself an athlete, but business is my game, right? So I'm not in a boxing ring, thankfully not taking punches to the head, at least not very often. And for me, I think about those same things, like being a student of people, like learning people, watching them, seeing what is meaningful to them, knowing how to address them in a way that they can interpret. And I'm forgetting which fighter, I don't think it was Tommy Hearns, but who was the one that, whoever took the center of the ring first, that was like his big thing.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
There we go.
Yes.
Tell him that story, because it's so smart.
Well, I came back a lot of times. Too many times. But I came back this time. It was like I was retired for almost 5 years. And
That's a long time.
That's a very long time. And I saw Marvin Hagler in his last fight prior to fighting me, and I said, I could beat this guy. So when I made the announcement, people thought I was crazy. They said, Ray, you can't beat Marvin Hagler because Marvin hasn't lost a fight in 11 consecutive years. And I said, I can beat this guy. I can beat this guy. So I couldn't beat him physically because he was just too big and ambidextrous. I mean, both hands, he can knock you out with either hand. But I had to beat him up here. So I sent a spy to his training camp. I mean, it was legal back then. It was legal back then. And he went to see the guy, and he came back. He said, Ray, Marvin Hagler believes the first fighter to the center of the ring wins the fight. So when the bell rung for the first round, I ran to the center of the ring. I made sure I got there. And also, I truly believe I can win, but you don't know when you're in that ring because now it's like, this is real. And I was a little, I won't say nervous, but concerned. And all of a sudden, I say, it still works. Because my hand speed was still there.
Right.
And that's what it was. It was all about accumulating or building up points in the early rounds so that in the later rounds I could coast.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit of everything. It was psychology, psychological warfare. It was the fact I was in great shape and knew exactly what to do and what not to do.
Let's talk about self-belief. As I was thinking back to the 14-year-old, 15, 16, wherever you were, when you were running next to the bus to get to school instead of taking the bus, with dreams of being on the Olympic team, how do you go from, I'm a kid in an obscure place of Maryland or D.C., I'm going to win a gold medal? Like, how do you make that first? Because surely no one around you at the time was saying that, or were they?
My coach, Dave Jacobs, was saying that, my amateur coach. He was saying that. He said, you guys can win the Golden Gloves, you guys can win the Pan American Games, you guys can win the Olympics. And, I mean, that's what most kids need to hear, a sense of encouragement. You know, depending where you come from, how you were brought up, how you were raised. Well, speaking of confidence to a young kid is powerful. And then because I believe I can do something. And I just worked hard, extremely hard every single day.
So then as you get older and you do some of your comebacks, like when you came back against Tommy Hearns, right? And, and everyone thought you were out of your mind.
Tommy annihilated everybody. He was so big and strong and fast that he was a favorite to win the fight. But I also, you know, what I do when I walk to the ring, or prior to walking to the ring, in the dressing room, I look in the mirror, and if I see Sugar Ray Leonard in the mirror, I can beat Mike Tyson, all right? but if I see Ray Leonard, the civilian, I'm in trouble. Because there's two different people.
Are you ever able to switch it? Like you look and you see Ray, the civilian. Can you do a state change? Can you psych yourself out?
It's natural. It's a natural transition. It's a natural thing that I go there because I'm there for that particular fight, that matchup. The transformation from day one, from day one to when I finish training, which is like almost a 2-month period, the transformation in me is astounding. It's amazing because, first of all, I get in incredible shape, in amazing shape, but then this thing here really comes together. It all comes, and that's how I get my tunnel vision.
Right.
I block out everything else, tunnel vision.
And does that come through the discipline of showing up in the gym, eating right, and all that? Because you don't use a lot of self-narrative from what I've heard. Meaning, like, are you talking to yourself? Are you saying certain things? You said you don't in a fight, but do you during training camp?
I create the fight in my head. I see it. I feel it. I taste it. Do I talk to myself? Yeah. I tend not to answer. But I do talk to myself. And I think it's great. You know, whatever works for you. But for me, I do talk to myself. Because that last mile of a 5-mile run, sometimes I got to talk to myself to run, to keep up the pace.
Yeah.
It's It's more here than it is here.
You've been invited you're a much sought after public speaker. You've been invited by a lot of Fortune 500 companies to come and give your power talk. What are the key takeaways that you're trying to get? Like, how do you impart a champion's mindset to somebody who doesn't yet have it?
You have to believe in yourself. You have to do your version of road work, which could be staying in your office 2 hours, later, going to work earlier. I mean, all those things are the same principles that it required for me to be a champion.
Right.
It's applicable in everyday life. And I use, my philosophy is called POWER, which is prepare, overcome, win every round. It's here and it's here.
So going back to winning every round, what are the strategies? So abstract it from fighting for a second, because I know in the ring you've said very powerfully that it happens automatically. You just have to feel it, and you go in. It's such a visceral thing. But for these guys who they're going to apply their learnings to a business world or something, certainly along those lines, like what are the tools that they can do? What's the road work that they can do? And then how can they deal with doubt?
Doubt, first and foremost, is always, let's say, present. We although we won't admit it, but we do doubt ourselves. That comes into play when you're not sure. And sometimes we're not sure of what we want, but not really sure of how to get there. And that's where I've learned from my program, my AA program. I pause, give myself time. And although when I say pause can be 5 seconds. Pause can be 10 seconds. It can be 10 minutes. It can be 10 days. You gotta let this thing and this thing come together. Your heart and your mind has to come together. It all has to work as a unit, one piece, doing your due diligence to make sure you have all the information. Because when I do my road work is running 4 or 5 miles, but my road work is also checking out and knowing your weak points and strong points. It's all those things that makes a winner.
What do you look for in fighters? And I'm asking because I'm trying to put together like what the things that these guys need to cultivate in themselves, right? So you managed to stay hungry in paradise, right? Made just an unbelievable amount of money as a boxer. You had crazy amounts of endorsements, and yet you stayed a dominant boxer for so long, which obviously does not happen by accident. So how do you keep that drive going? It's like when you're assessing a young fighter, what are the things you're trying to ascertain about their character?
We look for that power or that intestinal fortitude or that passion. You know, when you love something so much, and again, we're all human, so sometimes we tend to take things for granted. Muhammad Ali gave me some advice many, many years ago. And I love this man. He said, Ray, be your own man, but control your own legacy. He said, and sign your own checks. I didn't understand. I laughed too. I didn't understand what he was talking about. But I also wanted to be different than most fighters, unfortunately, who have fallen on the wayside. And that was to create my own legacy and maintain. And I was able to do that because I had good people around me. I had good people who were smart, who had morals, who didn't take advantage of me as a young kid, a young teenager, a young fighter.
So how do you keep things in perspective?
My wife. my wife, my family, my kids. You know, listen, I am not that sweet guy you think I am. Well, put it this way, I'll make sure I say the right thing.
Yeah, right. Your wife's in the. Keep talking.
Okay. Here it is. Back in the day, this is back in the 80s, early 80s. I was like 25, 26. And, I was on top of the world. I had my titles, I had the money, I had the fame. And I wasn't prepared to do anything else. So now all of a sudden I meet new friends, and all those new friends turn me on to something they call cocaine. And I didn't drink that much at the time, but then all of a sudden now I find myself, well, I have time to go to the bar and this and that. So I became an addict, I became an alcoholic, and I did all those things. And giving myself no respect. And I did that for a couple of years. But the thing about it, I thank God, grace of God, I'm a blessed man. I mean, I am one, a guy who had good people around him. And also I surrendered myself. Because if we as a celebrity, if you will, or successful individual, entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, if you don't come to grips with who you are, from a realistic standpoint, you'll never be happy. I am the happiest I've ever been in my life, because now I'm okay in my own skin. I mean, am I Sugar Ray Leonard? Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard pays the bills. But I'm cool with who I am. I mean, I can walk into this room and if no one recognizes me, it's okay. It's okay. You understand what I'm saying, Tom? I'm okay with who I am. Again, my wife and I started the foundation, and I'm giving back, and I pray every day, because life is a fight, life is a challenge, and everyone is not nice. Everyone don't have morals. I mean, some people try to take what you have. I mean, all of those things. And I just found a place recently in the past couple of years that has made me the man I am today. I've been 10 years sober.
Congratulations.
So, I mean, it was hard for me to say I'm an alcoholic because I'm Sugar Ray Leonard. When I finally was able to say that, my life got better. My life got so much better, And I was sexually abused as a kid, and I kept it to myself for many, many years. And it ate at me for so long, and because I didn't know I thought it was just me who that happened to. And at certain times of the year or times of the month, it resurfaced because I never dealt with it. I always pushed it away. And the way I pushed it away was drinking or drugs. It wasn't until I faced the reality of what happened to me and accepted that and moved on that I became a better man, a better father, a better husband.
Yeah, the revelations that you allow yourself in the book to really be that open and vulnerable, man, I'm sure you know this, but to put it in context of somebody who is so powerful from a traditionally masculine sense of you went into a ring and you beat people up, that kind of thing begins to redefine for people for a generation what it means to be a man. And to hear somebody be so open, be real, touch on subjects that were very uncomfortable for you, but to have the courage to do it shows that courage for anybody isn't just manifested physically, that there's a mental and emotional courage that's needed as well. And then just showing people that you can unburden it simply by talking about it, which is incredible. How much of that came from the battle that you win on a daily basis with sobriety?
Tom, it was, I tell you what, it was so hard. It ate at me every day, some days worse than others. It wasn't until I saw a TV show, Oprah, and I saw Todd Bridges on there, and he was talking about being sexually abused, and he was telling people how much better he felt by releasing what he kept inside for so long, and I told my writer about that. I talked to I revealed the revelations I made, and then when I did the book signing, I'd never been so petrified in my life. I mean, being in front of Tommy Hearns or Hagler is scary, but when I did that book signing, I was shaking like a leaf because I revealed that I was weak. I got so many people from all facets and walks of life, men and women, who approached me at that signing, and for some reason I looked at them and I knew that there was a connection. There was something, there was a correlation there. And the guy would grab me, big guys with beards, and grab me and hug me and share a tear and said he said it happened to me too, Ray. And I shook like a leaf, man. But I was happy that I revealed a point in my life that was so dark. So it's you know, I felt good about that. I really felt good about that.
Yeah, man, I think you should. Here's the thing, like, to be in your position, to be a symbol of strength and power, and to show people that it doesn't diminish you to reveal that is a beautiful gift, and I think people receive it as such. Like, it's so real, man, and it's such this human connection, and we all have this longing to connect. And I think part of the reason that it's so cathartic is you elevate your heroes, you put them on a pedestal, and it actually is, you feel more connected to them, more drawn, more inspired by them when they are human, when you can relate, when you no longer feel the separation of they are something I could never be. And it's something that I have the chills. It's so profound to me when somebody who's accomplished at the level that you've accomplished says, I didn't get here because it was easy. I got here because I had to do work. I got here with difficulty and mistakes, and I bottled it up, and that was like a huge mistake, and I shouldn't have, for my own sanity, I shouldn't have done that. And now I'm going to open myself up and allow people into my world in a whole new way. And I'm not surprised that you were met with beauty. It's such a fundamental and deep desire for humans to connect with no bullshit between them, right? Like, and you know it when it happens.
Right.
And you and I were talking before we came out here, and you mentioned your wife and how long you guys have been together. And I said, okay, what's the secret? And you said, I've surrendered to her. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I totally got what you mean, right? Like, to give yourself over to somebody so completely, to be so vulnerable and so connected. I feel like that's what you did in the book. You surrendered to the truth of what you've lived through. The good, the bad, the bombastic, the sad, the scary, the amazing, the stupid, the brilliant. I mean, all of it. But in surrendering to it all, there was it was just beautiful as somebody reading the book, who then is challenged to find that same thing in themselves. But I've got to imagine it felt pretty damn good to do as well.
You said cathartic, and that you're so right. It was such a release, and it was such a part of me. Because normally, when I talk about the sexual abuse, I would get so emotional, really, really emotional. It's so vivid in my mind that I know I can smell his breath, I can smell his body, I can smell it was that real, and it is that real. It took my life away, because I was never happy. I mean, again, as much fame as I had or money as I had, I was never happy. I drank to be happy. I did cocaine, a lot of it, to be happy. So my life, for the most part, was shut down, was blacked out. And people saw me they saw me, what they saw was just kind of an individual who achieved significant stuff, but wasn't really happy, because all of a sudden now I'm saying, who likes me for who I am? And it was getting to that point. And my biggest problem, Tom, was I suppressed things. I would never tell you. Normally, I would never tell you what I just told you today. I would keep it to myself. If it's bothering me, if you did something wrong, I wouldn't tell you. Of all the things, I'm non-confrontational, and but I found out that stress and keeping things inside can kill you. And it will kill you, because a couple years ago I had shingles.
Wow.
And what activates it is, I think, it's stress. And I had a lot of stress and a lot of situations. That pain, I'd rather fight Hearns, Hagler, Durant in the same night. that is so painful, you know?
Yeah. Let's talk about pain. So I am like a distorted, way less cool version of you and your relationship with pain. So as a kid, punch in the nose, whoa, retire, never again, avoid it like the plague. I don't wrestle, don't do martial arts, none of that, because I think, hey, this hurts. I played football. I played for exactly one season because about halfway through the season, I realized every time they say hike the ball, it hurts. So because that pattern is so predictable, all I have to do is quit the team. Like, it's perfect. So it's easy. So finish the season, never played again, nice and easy, pain avoidance. So I'm at the dentist recently, and I go there, and they're like, well, we're going to have to do like a deep cleaning. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What's that when it's at home? And they're like, so we're going to have to numb you. Now, as far as I can tell, they get a whale harpoon, and they jam that shit like to where it's in my neck at some point, right? And I'm like, we are still doing my teeth, yeah? Like, not my esophagus. It was crazy. So it still really hurt. And then I thought, okay, wait a second. I'm being a wuss. Like, I'm flinching away. I'm like trying to turn my headphones up. I'm listening to this book, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're talking about in the book. All I can think about is a needle in my face. And so finally I realized, wait, this is a mental game. And so now what I'm going to do, every time it hurts, I'm going to open my mouth wider, and I'm going to push into the pain. And I'm going to now dominate the pain. And it was so weird how everything in that moment changed. I went from being out of control, a little bit scared, a lot in pain, to being in pain for sure, but it was, I just wrote an article about this, about earning credibility with yourself. And that one of the things I find so fascinating about you is all the little times you earn credibility with yourself. And that's why I was asking about the sobriety. The interesting thing about sobriety is if you're an alcoholic, if you're an addict, it never goes away.
Right.
You just get incredibly good at managing it. So every day you make the right choice, and every day you earn more credibility with yourself, which is why you get the coin at the year. It's like, hey, I did something. This is very meaningful. And earning that credibility with yourself is the only thing that matters. So I promise, no matter how cool you think I am, if I think I'm an asshole, that's all that's going to matter. And if you think I'm an asshole, but I really believe in my soul, I'm cool, like you with some of the comebacks where everyone was like, dude, you're going... He's called the Hitman Hearns for a reason. Don't make him your comeback fight, right? But you believed it, and because you believed it, and you had the confidence in yourself, you could go and do it. That's the credibility that you earn with yourself. You do the road work. You show up every day. You knew. I put in the work. So when I look in the fucking mirror, I don't see Ray the civilian. I see Sugar Ray Leonard.
Right.
So in that moment, I was like, I'm going to earn credibility with myself. Everything about me is telling me to go in the opposite direction of these tools that they keep jabbing into my face. But I'm not. And I'm going to sit here calmly. And I will never once ask if you're almost done. So those words never came out of my mouth. I was like, if I'm here all day, that's the way it's going to be. And every time it hurt, and every time I had the impulse to do this, I did this. And I leaned forward, and I opened wider. And I thought, wow, like, really, I did nothing, right? Like that, I got my fucking teeth clean. But I feel like a stud, right? Like, I feel like I really did some shit.
We have a lot in common, man.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. It's interesting, though, how you still can go back out and fight the rest of the fight. Mm-hmm. And it's something I find actually really interesting is the way, so I use self-narrative a lot. So the way that we can use self-narrative to psych ourselves up, to gain dominion over fear, to gain dominion over pain, like whatever the case may be. And, you know, the people who look at the kid who's so hell-bent to win the Olympic gold medal or to be champion or to make a comeback, they haven't yet figured out, like, how much of your mind you can own, right? Like, how much of it's a choice. And I think that's really the thing that gets me excited, and that's the thing in your story that so resonates with me is if you really look at your life, everything has been about you gaining dominion over yourself. And even the way you talk about Sugar Ray as being separate from Ray. Mm. Because Sugar Ray, I think, is the result of all the road work you do, all the mental preparation that you do, all the ways that you look to force the tunnel vision to get into that myopic space and to really go after something. And here's what's fascinating. And this is the kind of thing that, guys, I really hope you'll dig deeply into him at the end, is retirement always messed with you. And then you finally got to the point where you just accomplished so much in boxing that you could move into something new. But in moving into that something new, you're applying the same level of energy, enthusiasm, passion, everything. So looking at what you're doing from a philanthropic standpoint is breathtaking. I mean, it really is amazing. Is that something that you focus on?
There's no greater feeling to me than to give back, to make a difference. Whether it's a phone call to some fan, stopping by some charitable event, just giving back within itself is wonderful. I mean, it's something that's something that you don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah.
Because I love it and I enjoy. I know I got a call from this. Well, actually, an email, Twitter. What do you call it? Email, Twitter? I don't know these things.
They both exist.
Okay. And it was a Twitter. It was a tweet. Is it a tweet?
It's a tweet.
Okay, it's a tweet. And this guy, he was given a few months to live.
Whoa.
But he wanted to speak to me. He wanted to say hi to me.
Wow, Jesus.
And it's really resonated. It was like, oh, I said, I got to call this guy. And I did call him. I called him. I spoke with him for about an hour.
Wow.
First of all, he didn't think it was me. I kept saying, yeah, Sugar Ray, yeah, you're the guy who fought Durant. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. I did that before, yeah. And I talked to this guy. And I was in tears, man. And I said, man, you keep fighting, man. He said, Ray, talking to you right now, man, it has given me so much more life and so much more courage. It's just little things that you do or you can do that makes a difference in someone's life. And I cherish that moment, and I valued that time with that young man.
God, this is so powerful to me. So, people think they're motivated by money. I get it. People think they're motivated by fame, some. I get it. And those are both great things. But nothing can touch meaning. Like when you feel like you matter, that what you do has purpose and meaning. Like when you said that, Ray, I was just like, oh my God, I can't imagine being somebody who's just been given a couple months to live, that I'm the call that they would want. Like that's...
It's...
Like, what do you do with that as a person? Like, that's so amazing to think that you've touched their life to the point where, like, there's for some people, there's a clarity in the end, when the end is truly inevitable. And in that moment, I think they can find something amazing. And there's actually a great documentary series by a company called Soul Pancake, where they covered a documentary of the last months of people's lives and how optimistic and wonderful some of those people felt until the end. I mean, it was really, really incredible. And to know that in that moment of clarity and having a perspective that so many people will never have of really understanding the things that bring you immediate and long-term joy and value in life, that guy wants to talk to you. I mean, that's like all the road work in the world is worth it, right? Like to have shown something so inspiring to that guy, right? And that to me is the juice, by the way. In a world where all we get are tweets, that you had an art, that you went and did something that was so difficult people didn't think that they could do it, that you won these impossible victories that are just unbelievable to watch, by the way. That it connects people to something bigger. It's really, really profoundly interesting and cool and so fucking rad that you called him.
But I tell you, I've been blessed in so many ways. It's nothing for me to make a phone call. But to him, that gave him another day, another week, another month on this earth. And it costs nothing to be nice. It costs nothing to be nice.
What's your definition of a life well lived?
It's about pursuing and accomplishing your dreams. I tell people all the time to dream the dream. Because your dreams, your dreams like your GPS towards your success. It's your dreams are what allows you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's what gives you motivation, determination, and you go for that. And you go for that dream. You reach out and you work hard, because people tell other people what they can't do. So they tell you can't do that, and a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, we believe them. But they're telling you what they can't do. Don't let them tell you what you can't do. I talk about success. I talk about victory. I say, I beat Hearns, beat Hagler because I wanted victory. And victory is defined in so many ways. I mean, for me, my victories are my family, my gold medal, and my world titles. And for other people, your victories can be, promotion. It could be a new home. It could be something as simple. But it's all, no matter how you define victory, you just got to go for it. You have to go for it and be the fighter. And I use boxing and fighting as a metaphor in my motivational speaking, because we are fighters. And if I know anything about fighting, I know how to win.
You sure do, Ray. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks, Tom.
That was incredible. Where can these guys find you online?
At SugarRayLeonard.com.
SugarRayLeonard.com it is. I've spent a lot of time on SugarRayLeonard.com. I encourage you guys to go there. I encourage you to read his book, and I encourage you to start this episode over and watch it again. Here's what you have to do. The thing you need to remember about this man, watch his fights. In fact, before you do anything, go watch 2 of his fights. Doesn't matter what 2, pick any 2. Because you need to understand the danger that hides in this man's body before you can understand the beauty that he presents. The beauty is in a void until you understand that it's a choice. Once you understand that he's making a choice to demonstrate beauty, he's making a choice to show vulnerability, because courage is how he built his life. Facing fear, facing pain over and over, having his teeth knocked back, walking back into the ring the next time, to refuse to give in, to refuse to bend or break, and to keep charging at somebody who is trying to knock your head off, literally. Takes all the courage in the world. To knock somebody unconscious is dangerous. To have that ability is incredible. And to do it as one of the most dominant forces in the sport for 20 years is unmatched. So when he's beautiful, when he's vulnerable, when he's kind, it's a juxtaposition. Now, why is that so interesting to me? Because that's the life I think we all should strive to live, to be powerful in both areas, to not be emotionally weak, to be able to stand up and fight, to charge ahead when you're losing, to dig deep and find a way to win, but to know when to be kind, to understand that something more comes from giving than getting, to really dedicate yourself in a real way to compassion and helping other people, but not to do it because it's your only choice. You can defend, you can attack. It's both sides of the coin. That is what you will find when you research this man. It is an incredible tale of humanity, of power and beauty. Enjoy it. And until next week, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Right? Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Inside Quest. We don't take a single listener for granted. As you know, our goal is to pull as many human beings out of the Matrix as humanly possible. And to help us do that, if you like this episode, please go to iTunes, leave a review, like it, and if you loved it, which I know you do, please share it with people. The more people that we can get paying attention to the show, the more guests that we can get on, and the better that we can serve you guys. If you want to become an insider and you want to get access to exclusive content, be sure to go to InsideQuest.com, sign up for the newsletter. We put stuff in there that isn't available anywhere else. We promise not to spam you or waste your time, so be sure to go there and sign up. And then we're super active socially, so if you guys want to follow me personally, you can do that at Tom Bilyeu. My last name is spelled B as in Bravo, And of course, you can follow at Inside Quest as well. Engage with us. Let us know what you think. Send in guest submissions. And, oh, dear God, please, if you're in the Los Angeles area, we want you to come and sit in the audience and be a part of this community. It's amazing to get a chance to meet everybody. So come on in, say what's up, and let's change lives. All right, my friends, until next time, be legendary. Take care.